Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, thank you so much for your support. So I haven't made a video in a couple of days because I was in the process of getting a brand new computer and also had some RL stuff going on. But I kind of did want to make one or maybe two more videos on this character, just to kind of finish the character off, I would say. Also, a couple of bosses that I wanted to kill that I've actually never killed before, and that's what this video is going to be about. I also got some comments from people that wanted me to do kind of like an update and see where the character is currently at. So in this video, we're also going to go over the full gear setup, all the gems. We're also going to go over the passive tree, and we're also going to go over the mapping passive tree, and then we'll jump into those bossing videos. So without further ado, let's jump right into the gear. So the easiest way to craft a +3 bow is just to slam it with the +2 level of socketed bow gems essence. And hopefully what you're looking for is to be able to land a attack speed modifier on there with an open prefix and an open suffix. If you manage to get that, you can craft cannot roll attack modifiers and then slam it with a exalted orb to get the guaranteed +1 level of socketed gems. So in total, you're going to be looking to spend around 2 to 3 exalts to craft this bow. This late into the league, you might actually be able to just buy one with a little bit better rolls than this. So that's something that you can definitely look at. The colors are a little bit of a hassle to get them. Ideally, you would want 3 reds, 1 green, and 2 blues. That is a lot of chromatics to get. I do currently have one. I just haven't rolled that one to make it a +3 bow. But honestly, attack speed and +3 is more than enough. Moving on to our helm, we're using Rimrar's Resolve. This is basically just for the increased fire damage. We got a max roll on this one for 40%, some armor, life, and very nice line of we cannot be chilled or frozen if we've used a fire skill recently. And since we are just constantly spamming a fire skill, that's always up. In respects to the amulet, you want something with damage over time multiplier, some elemental damage with attack skills, and we want to allocate watchtowers, which we'll go over when we go over the passive tree. I very early on decided to go with a Colm's Heart just for some extra life, extra fire damage. With a rare chest, and especially with the ability to craft some pretty insane gear this league, you might be better off just going with a rare chest. But very early on, I decided to go with this, and haven't looked back ever since. The Polaric Devastation is very nice damage increase. Helps a little bit with the survivability because it covers everything in ash and slows everything. Paying 6 exalts for this early was a bit of a stretch, but I do definitely like the playstyle with having the devastation. Moving on to the Death's Rush, it helps cap our accuracy. You definitely want to make sure your accuracy is above 97%, 98%. just to make sure that you're not losing a lot of DPS to misses. Also having Onslaught for 4 seconds on kill, which is almost always up with this build, is very nice. So moving on to the last thing that we recently purchased, this quiver is absolutely insane. By itself, I think it provides us over 1 million DPS. So in quiver, you want to look for something with damage over time multiplier, attack speed, and something with elemental damage on there as well. For our gloves, just attack speed, life, and some resistances. You could probably upgrade this further by having something with fire damage over time multiplier. I believe is something we can roll on this if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Deity and Dawn is just a staple of the build. Gives us some really nice damage increases because your ignites deal damage 35% faster, and that's absolutely huge for us since we are a very heavy ignite build. Then for boots, some basic life, movement speed, and resistances. Probably definitely get way better boots than this, but can't complain with these at the moment. And that basically rounds up all of our gear. Flasks are just, jade, a granite, some movement speed, and then a life flask. You can also throw in something else there. Now, this is kind of my single target setup. For clear speed, I usually run the goal. with a Rain of Splinters. The goal and all the shrine nodes that you can get on the mapping passive tree is absolutely insane. You get the playstyle of having a headhunter without the investment of owning a headhunter, and all it costs is about 3 chaos per map to get additional shrines. With that said, the 3 chaos investment usually pays for itself more than once within a map, because you get some pretty insane pack sizes and you get usually multiple shrines in a map. So you kind of definitely make your chaos back. At least that's been my experience so far, especially in the higher tier maps. So next, let's go over the gem sockets. So on our damage setup, we have our Ballista totem with our explosive arrow. We have faster attacks, combustion, inspiration support, and also our ignite prolif support. So this is probably the easiest setup to achieve. I think you can get these colors within 60 to 65 chromatics. Achieving the 3 red, 2 blue, 1 green is a little bit more complicated. For our helm slot, we're running Flame Surge with Arcanist Brand, and then we just stuck our Defiance banner and our Determination in there. On our gloves, we have our Hex Touch set up with our Frenzy, GMP, and Flammability. For our boots, we put our Grace, our Molten Shell, Precision, and our Flame Dash in there as well. And then when we're running the goal, we just change out our helmet. That's why I have both of them colored the same way. And that about covers it for the gems. So moving on to the character sheet, we're currently sitting at 15k armor and 13k evasion. Ideally, we would want this to be 2020, as that's going to offer a lot more survivability. The downside to our current gear setup is that we are running a lot of uniques, so it kind of limits our ability to be able to stack some higher defenses. Another thing that I did notice is we do lack a bit of intelligence, specifically from our gear. That's why a couple videos ago I did have to go ahead and purchase this new amulet with an intelligence implicit compared to the previous one that we were running, just because of how starved on intelligence we were on this character. With that said, let's move on to the passive tree. Not much has changed since you last saw the passive tree, but essentially the things that we would definitely want to look out for are damage multipliers. So we have this nodes up here, this cluster here, some life for survivability. Elemental overload is always very, very good for us, and obviously mana reservation efficiency, since we are running 3 auras. So the tree, generally you start up here, grab all these nodes up here, make your way down. So I didn't allocate the jewel sockets until very late into the passive tree, and ideally you would want to make a beeline towards watchtowers, and then when you're able to anoint this on your amulet, you respec out of these nodes here, and then you make a beeline to Panopticon. Once we are able to anoint this and get Panopticon, you're basically done. The last thing that this tree would need is to respec these nodes here, and then make our way into Spiritual Command, so we can craft attack speed on our bow, or minion increase attack speed on our bow, which would also affect us, and that would be some very, very good increase to attack speed there. Outside of that, the tree is very straightforward. The only other thing that I did forget to mention was elemental equilibrium, and as you probably saw from the gear earlier, the only source of additional elemental damage that we have is cold damage to attacks on our amulet and on our gloves, and then that's just going to trigger elemental equilibrium, so we do more fire damage. But yeah, guys, pretty straightforward tree, nothing too crazy, no clusters or anything like that. So let's move on to the passive tree on the map. So for this, my main goal was to get as much free value as possible while doing content that I generally enjoyed. So I decided to go for strong boxes, essences, and then shrines, because I was playing with the goal for a very, very long time, and also get the Harbinger nodes, which was a lot of extra mobs. What I would say about this league is it felt very easy to level up, and the amount of experience that you were gaining per map was absolutely insane because of so much extra value that we were getting in respects to strong boxes, essences, Harbingers. Also have a little bit of rogue exiles somewhere around here. I think it's here. Yeah, all in all, I really like this tree, especially if you're playing with the goal. You get that, like I mentioned earlier, you get that headhunter playstyle without having to invest 100 exalted orbs or something crazy number of exalts like that. And then obviously we make it all the way up here for all the end game nodes, and then also the Shadow of Hunger. I think for a starter tree, I'm really happy with the amount of value that I got out of this tree.
Did you really think this would work?
Cirrus, please, we want to help you. Don't do anything hasty.
Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest.
No!
Stand up!
Kirak!
How boring and small.
You want the Atlas? Take it. It's yours. But Oriath? Oriath, I will burn to the ground.
Perhaps the suffering of my fellow citizens will finally stir something. A real challenge. You finally caught my attention. The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on it. I am not so foolish.
What's the point?